Hey BPS. So I am going to film handwriting segments from home. This is my craft room, and I'm going to be as transparent as possible. When someone is being transparent, it means they're trying to tell you the whole truth. Handwriting matters. I have seen research done on this subject, and one study I saw two papers written by two different people. They said exactly the same thing, but one of those people used nice handwriting and the other used very messy handwriting. Almost every time the two were scored, the person with nice handwriting had a better score, even though it said exactly the same thing as the messy handwriting. This story was to prove a point. Your reader has bias when they read your writing. It is super important to take pride in your work. As I've worked with the students here, I think handwriting is one way that our whole school can improve. The name of the game is always improvement. I strive to be better than I was yesterday. Sometimes I'm successful and sometimes I'm not. But I always try. This is more than just about handwriting. So back in November, I asked you all to do a handwriting task for me. It took me some time to analyze and digest all of my observations. We do have some handwriting superstars, but even our superstars have room to improve, and I myself can also improve. I'll say it again, improvement is the name of the game. I also want to mention this is not a competition. I plan on putting some friendly competition in place, but the competition lies in how much improvement you can muster. Now the friendly competition is class-based, so your job is to not only put in effort for yourself to improve, but also encourage your classmates to improve. Now, I'm going to stop here again to say something I've always said to my students, and I'm actually famous for saying it. You get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. This has nothing to do with bees. It has nothing to do with vinegar or honey. It really means when you are sweet to people, you often get what you want. If you're sour like vinegar, more often you probably are not. So I want you to encourage your classmates. I'm going to give you two examples, and I want you to think about which is the best way to encourage your classmates. There will be a prize for the class that has the most improvement class-wide. First example, no, not like that. Second example, oops, look at that O. Don't forget to start at the top for that letter. Could you tell that, no, not like that, was kind of sour? When you are sweet, you get more of what you want, I promise. You get more bees with honey than with vinegar. I will be tracking your whole class progress, so encourage each other sweetly. Now for another thing I'm famous for saying. There is a method to my madness. What that means is there's a reason I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to go in the order that the alphabet goes in. I know that sounds crazy to not go in the order of the alphabet, but it's truly on purpose. I determined the order by looking at our school's handwriting. We have a few problem letters, so I put most of those toward the top of the list. There are also some letters that are formed in similar ways, so I tried to chunk those together. I promise there is a method to my madness. So because this is more than just about handwriting, here's your challenge. Put in all of your effort during these videos. I will try to make them as interesting as possible. Take pride in your handwriting, not only during handwriting, but all of the time when you construct these letters. Here's to high quality handwriting. Okay, so we are going to start with probably the biggest problem letter that we had as a school, and it's the letter O. You're going to use the letter O all of the time. And the biggest problem I saw was a lot of people were starting here at the bottom and going in this direction. The way you want to start an O every single time is always, always, always the top. So I'm going to put a dot right here. And we're going to start at the top. We're actually going to go counterclockwise and then touch that dot again. So from here, you go all the way around, big curve, touch the bottom, and then back up to that dot. Okay. okay? So what I want you to do right now is I want you to point to that dot that you see on the TV or the screen, and I want you to trace going counterclockwise around, back to that dot. Ready, go. Touch, all the way around, big curve, touch. The lowercase o, we're doing the exact same thing, only it's going to start at the very middle line. You can see this dotted line. I probably should have told you the top line, bottom line, middle line. We're going to use that kind of paper just to begin. So we're going to go ahead and start at that middle line. I'm going to draw my dot. I'm going to go curve around, counterclockwise, touch the bottom, and then touch my dot again. Okay? I'm going to start every handwriting video with this music clip, and it is your cue to get out your binder, which has your handwriting sheet in it, a dry erase marker, and something to erase your dry erase marker with. Now that you have your items, the very first thing I'd like to do is kind of explain this paper. So we see there's like a light gray line up top here, and then a dotted line, and then a dark line. And then there's some space in here between, and that's for any letters that go below the water. And then we've got line number 2. So this is line number 1, this is line number 2, with the top line, the middle line, and then the bottom line. And then there's the space in between. The third line is here with the top line, middle line, bottom line. Again, we have space in between the third and the fourth, then the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. So you have 8 spaces here for practicing. All right, the next thing I'd like you to do is for you to flip your paper over, and on the back you have some directions. I know each of you has a colored paper. I'm just using mine that is white. The very first letter I'd like you to look at, and using your marker, I would like you to put your dot at the very top of that O. Notice that the direction of the arrow goes in this direction, so we're going to start at that O. Go ahead and trace your O on your paper, and then once you touch the dot, you are done. I'd like you to go ahead and make that dot again, trace around counterclockwise, and then back up at the top, and you're stopped. Once you do that about 3 times, then I'd like you to flip your paper over, and actually I'm going to use my a sock actually, and I'm going to erase before I flip over. I'm going to flip my paper over back to line number 1. Again, I'm going to put my dot at the very top of the line. I'm going to curve around, touch that bottom line, and then go to the top. I'm going to leave some space in between each of these practice letters. So I'm going to look for probably about 4 on each of these lines. And so the next one, I'm going to do another capital O. And you're going to touch back up the top. The third O, I'm going to give it space, put my dot, go counterclockwise, curve around, touch the bottom, and then back up the top. And then the last one, I'm going to go ahead and curve around, touch the bottom, back up the top. Now for line number 2, I'm going to go ahead and do just lowercase o's right below those 4 practice capital O's that I did. I'm going to put my dot on that middle line. I'm going to touch that dot, and I'm going to curve around, touch the bottom line, and then back up to that dot. Same thing for the second O. I'm going to make my dot where I'm going to start. I'm going to curve around, going counterclockwise, and then back up to the top of that O. Okay? I'd like you to do number 3 and number 4. Start with that dot, counterclockwise, curve around, touch the bottom, back up the top. Now for row number 3 and number 4, I'm going to have us go ahead and do a capital O and a lowercase o. A capital O and a lowercase o. And I want about 3 examples right here. Do the same thing for row number 4. Make sure you're starting at the top line, curving around, touching the bottom, back up. Same thing, about 3 examples here. All right, and for the rest of your handwriting time, you can work on both uppercase and lowercase O's. As we continue, we are going to start using these lines for writing words that have used the letters that we've already done. So for now, you can just use those lines for capital O's and lowercase O's. All right, when you are done with this activity, please make sure you take a picture and upload it to your Seesaw.